When Howard Carter, peered through that little hole in the doorway back in 1922, well, the world went crazy for the gold, didn't it? The mask, the shrines, all that unbelievable treasure.
Absolutely. Pure spectacle.
But the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, it was actually so much more than just finding gold. It really was, and it still is, one of the most amazing scientific opportunities we've ever had. So our mission here in this deep dive is to kind of look past the shiny stuff.
Yeah.
We want to unpack the sources that show why this famous tomb isn't just history sitting there, but really an unparalleled scientific and historical time capsule. We're going to get into the cutting-edge science that's still coming out of this site even a century later.
Yes, that's the crucial point, isn't it? Every time we develop a new tool, a non-invasive one, like, say, high-res CT scans or better DNA analysis or ground-penetrating radar, suddenly Tutankhamun's tomb becomes this modern lab. We've looked at the research, and basically there are four big reasons why the Golden Pharaoh's burial is this endless source of scientific wonder. It goes way beyond that initial flash of gold.
Okay, let's start with maybe the most important basic fact, the thing that shapes everything else. Why did this tomb survive with almost everything inside when nearly every other royal tomb from the New Kingdom was, well, cleaned out by robbers?
Right. It's that completeness, that sheer intactness that makes it unique. We're talking about the only royal tomb from that whole New Kingdom period found with its contents, almost entirely undisturbed. And the reason it survives so well, it's surprisingly ordinary. It was basically hidden by accident.
By accident. How does that happen? How do you accidentally hide a pharaoh's tomb?
Well, it seemed Tutankhamun's tomb entrance. It got buried under all the rubble in the little huts built for the workers who were constructing the tomb of Ramses VI, which was, much later and much larger, right above it.
Ah, okay, so later construction just covered it up.
Exactly. This layer of debris and then the work on the later tomb essentially just wiped Tutankhamun's tomb off the map for centuries. It vanished from memory, which protected it from all those ancient tomb robbers who were systematically looting the Valley of the Kings. And because of that fluke, that historical accident, what Carter found wasn't just amazing objects. It was a whole data set, a complete picture. Over 5,000 items.
Wow.
Yeah, furniture, jars, weapons, clothes. All pretty much as the priests left them. It's not just art history. It's like an anthropological jackpot. It lets us see the rituals, the technology they had, the art, the details of royal life. Yeah. All in one place, undisturbed. You just don't get that anywhere else.
So it really is the nearest thing we have to hitting pause back in the New Kingdom. You don't just see the artifacts, you see how they thought about the afterlife, how they prepared the king, the step-by-step process.
Right? And speaking of the king himself, the mummy. That's become this huge focus of investigation, hasn't it? Almost like a medical cold case. Modern science with DNA, CT scans, it's like performing an autopsy thousands of years later. What have we learned about his short and obviously complicated life?
His death around age 19, it's definitely more complex than, the old stories. Early ideas about him being murdered, maybe a blow to the head, well, those have been pretty much ruled out now. Instead, the forensic work points to, well, a whole cascade of health problems. There's evidence of a really bad leg fracture, looks like it was healing, maybe from an accident, plus signs of malaria, possibly multiple bouts. And on top of that, significant genetic issues.
The genetic angle, that's key, right? Related to his parents. That's right. The DNA evidence points quite strongly to him being the son of a consanguineous marriage. Basically, his parents were very closely related. His father, Akhenaten, and likely one of Akhenaten's own sisters. This kind of inbreeding, which, happened in royal families trying to keep the bloodline pure, it often led to congenital problems. And it seems these seriously impacted Tutankhamun's health from the start.
It makes him seem so much more human and, honestly, quite tragic. When you look at the forensic evidence, what kind of physical problems did he actually live with day to day?
Well, the skeletal analysis shows he had bone problems.
Yeah.
Very likely something called Kohler's disease.
Kohler's disease.
Yeah, it's a rare bone disorder in kids. It affects the foot bones. It's known to be really painful, causes chronic discomfort. And there's also evidence suggesting he might have had a clubfoot. And, the tomb itself backs this up in a really powerful way if you look at what was found in there. Over 130 walking sticks and canes.
130, wow.
Yeah, tucked away in the chambers. It tells you he had serious mobility issues. He was a king who probably couldn't walk easily without help. Those walking sticks, they're such a poignant piece of scientific evidence, right? They tell you more about his daily struggle than any inscription could.
It paints this picture of just constant difficulty, pain, maybe, needing assistance. And beyond his physical condition, the mummification itself, that's turned up some pretty shocking, unexpected data, too.
Oh, absolutely. And this hints that maybe things around his death were chaotic, unprepared. Recent chemical studies looking at the mummy itself, they revealed the mummification process might have been rushed or maybe done badly. There's actually evidence the body underwent a kind of spontaneous combustion inside the coffin.
Wait, hang on. Spontaneous combustion inside the coffin. How does that even work?
Well, not like boosting into flames, but a severe chemical reaction. It looks like they used way too much of the embalming oils and resins, or maybe applied them too quickly.
Hmm.
These reacted with oxygen trapped in the linen wrappings and essentially will slow cook the body.
That's grim.
It is. But it's also fascinating data. It gives us chemical clues, sure, but it also speaks volumes about the potential turmoil after Akhenaten's religious revolution. Maybe Tutankhamun's death was sudden, unexpected, and the burial had to be organized in a hurry.
That single fact turns the tomb into a chemistry experiment and a clue about the politics of the time.
Okay, so let's shift from the body to the container, the tomb's architecture. Because the structure itself, especially its size, raises big questions. Was this even meant to be his tomb?
The architecture is definitely a puzzle piece. Like you said, it's noticeably small, tiny, really, compared to other New Kingdom pharaohs' tombs.
Mm.
This size difference is the core of what scholars call the small size hypothesis. The theory goes that this tomb wasn't originally planned for Pharaoh at all. It was probably intended for a high-ranking noble. Vizier I, who actually became Pharaoh right after Tutankhamun, is a strong candidate.
Oh, okay.
So the idea is when the young king died suddenly, they had to find a place fast. And this nearly finished nobleman's tomb was available and quickly adapted or repurposed for him. And this idea of it being repurposed, maybe rushed, and definitely small, that connects directly to one of the hottest, most controversial topics today. The possibility of hidden rooms, secret chambers.
Exactly. This is the big one right now. The belief, fueled by some intriguing radar scans over the years, is that behind the painted walls of the burial chamber itself, there might be sealed-off doorways leading to entirely new spaces. And the potential payoff here is just huge. It ties right back into his family.
And the big theory is, who might be in there?
The leading hypothesis, the one that gets everyone excited, is that these hidden chambers could hold the lost tomb of Queen Nefertiti.
Wow.
Yeah. Tutankhamun's stepmother, possibly his co-ruler for a time, a major figure. Finding her tomb would be, well, arguably the biggest archaeological discovery since, well, Tutankhamun's tomb itself. And this whole investigation is a perfect example of the tomb as a modern lab, because you can't just go knocking holes in the walls, obviously. Yeah. So the possibility of these chambers means you have to use the latest non-invasive tech, ground-penetrating radar, GPR, thermal imaging, trying to see through the walls to find voids without damaging anything. It turns the search into this high-stakes technological hunt.
Okay, so we've got the intact contents, the king's medical secrets, the architectural puzzle. For the last area, let's look at the artifacts again, but in a new way. How they're being re-examined now, not just as pretty objects, but almost like historical texts themselves, reading them cognitively.
Yes, this idea of cognitive reading is really important in modern Egyptology. It means we stop just cataloging the object's, treasure, and start thinking about the choices, the actions, the beliefs, the cognition of the people who made them and used them. Every detail, every material, every change, even a scratch, can be read like a clue, like a text.
So what has this kind of cognitive reading actually shown us about, say, the funeral rituals, things we didn't grasp before?
It's helped clarify some really complex and previously murky funerary rites, especially one called the Awakening of Osiris ritual. By looking closely at artifacts that maybe were overlooked before or just seen as decoration, we get crucial details about how religious beliefs were shifting right after Akhenaten's monotheistic experiment.
Ah, the fallout from that.
Right. These objects, the way they were used or depicted, they fill in gaps in the written record. They show how quickly and maybe how deliberately Egypt snapped back to its traditional gods after Akhenaten.
And this close reading also leads to maybe the most politically charged discovery within the artifacts themselves, this strong evidence of, well, recycling. What did the analysis show?
Very careful, very detailed analysis of several major pieces. The most famous example is the middle golden coffin. It showed clear signs of being altered.
Altered? How?
You can see where original inscriptions, names probably, were physically scraped off, smoothed down. And then new inscriptions, naming Tutankhamun, were carved or applied over the top. It's physical proof of modification.
That's incredible. Why would they bother doing that to solid gold coffins? I mean, the effort involved. What does that suggest politically?
Well, it raises big questions about, urgency, maybe necessity, and definitely about royal lineage and resources.
Hmm.
It strongly suggests that some of these incredibly valuable items weren't actually made for Tutankhamun's funeral. They were recycled or adapted from the funerals of other close family members who died around the same time. Given the evidence for a rushed burial and all the mysteries surrounding Nefertiti and maybe another co-region called Smenkhkare, they are the most likely candidates for the original owners of some of this stuff.
So the tomb's treasures might actually contain pieces made for Nefertiti.
It's a distinct possibility. It means the tomb isn't just Tutankhamun's. It's almost like a composite history of that specific turbulent moment. Written in gold, literally. It shows even royal burials face time pressure and, well, resource management. They reused things.
Absolutely fascinating. So what began as this, spectacular treasure hunt has really become this ongoing, deep scientific investigation spanning medicine, chemistry, architecture, religion, politics. Yeah, our sources really drive home that Tutankhamun's tomb isn't just a discovery that happened and was done. It's still active. It's like a historical and medical crime scene, maybe, and definitely an inexhaustible scientific laboratory. It keeps challenging what we think we know as technology gets better.
Exactly. And that complexity, the ambiguity, how much was recycled, how flawed the mummification was, it underlines a really key point about studying history, doesn't it? We have to keep applying new tools, new scientific methods to re-examine the evidence because the sources themselves are often incomplete or unclear. Real knowledge comes from critically applying these tools to those gaps.
So, considering how much we've learned just in the last, say, 20 years, thanks to CT scans, radar, DNA tech we couldn't have dreamed of before, here's something to think about as you go about your day. What completely new questions, using technologies we can't even imagine yet, will the next generation of scientists bring to this tomb? It feels like the secrets of the Golden Pharaohs are really far from over.